All right, we are live for the Friday edition of the Mike and Mario Show. Excited to be back with a hell of a week, but it's just the beginning. But yeah, we're almost out of the month of September, and it was a very interesting month. But Mario, how you doing, my friend?
Yeah, I'm doing well. It was a strange week because last Friday already we saw the pound dropping,
Hmm.
yields are rising, the gilts, and I knew it was going to get bad the next Monday.
Hmm.
And for some reason, it just felt like the weekend wasn't there. And this week, I thought on Wednesday it was like Friday. It's just so much happening. And like you said before, we're talking what's happening in the UK is like an omen of what is going to happen everywhere else in the West,
Yeah,
especially the US.
yeah, yeah. It foreshadows very well what we can expect in other developed nations, especially the U.S., because we're in the same predicament. And so, as of right now, we'll see how long this lasts. But everyone who's tuned in, welcome to the live stream. If definitely feel free to throw out thoughts, ideas, suggestions. But what I think is the most telling of what is possible for the U.S. and as well as other nations is the pivot. And so it looks like as of now, the Bank of England decides to do some temporary stimulating again. But then once again, we've learned that once you start, you can't stop because it's inflating
Right.
or else. But so 65 billion in what 13-day time frame, I think 5 billion per day, give or take. Now, is that just enough just to quiet the markets because there's a relative calm right now. It looks like that, by them
Well,
reversing, it has eased some of the pressure on overall markets, but will it last long?
superficially, you look at the yields, yeah, they're dropping. I just noticed in the last hour, the 30-year gilt yield was like trying to break back through above 4%,
Mhm.
even though it had been over 5 beginning of the week.
Yeah.
And then like around 4 o'clock, it just dropped like a stone. Well, that's what you call in the markets painting the tape. So
Yeah.
the Bank of England went in there and bought a few billion to make it look good for the weekend. But I did a video this morning about the fact that the Bank of England and the gilt market, which is
Mhm.
the equivalent of US Treasuries, they're not out of the woods.
Yeah.
And this is not me saying it. It's like the major banks in the city. And why is that? Well, because apparently there's still a lot of illiquidity in the market, like the bid and offer spreads for these supposedly safe government bonds are really wide,
Yeah.
which is something that you probably expect in a junk bond market or emerging market bond. So yeah, we're now not out of the woods. The government today, Prime Minister and the Chancellor, who's the equivalent of Finance Minister or U.S. Treasury, they're supposed to get together with this institution called the Office of Budget Responsibility,
Mhm.
which was created a few years ago just to pretend that they're trying to be fiscally prudent. And they're supposed to come out with something next Friday, the government and this office, to say, to tell the public and investors how they're going to cope with all the deficit spending and the tax cuts. And then later on in the day, the government said, "Oh no, we're only going to talk about that on November 23rd
Mhm.
when we come out with our next budget." So the market didn't like that either.
Interesting. Now, so based upon what the Bank of England has done as far as reversing, is that going to be a signal for what will have to take place with the Federal Reserve? Just because we're not in a much different predicament overall. Rates are extremely high here. We're extremely over indebted. Now, I'm assuming our pension funds is going to have some of the same issues at some point in the future, or is this a part of the plan to continue to cause great distress within the markets for some unforeseen event, i.e., what's happening in Russia right now?
Yeah, I mean, I know that you think that there won't be any pivot, that they want to let it all collapse to bring CBDC, but I'll have to take the other camp. And I
Mhm.
think what the Bank of England did this week proves that they don't want it to collapse, but it's going to collapse anyway. I think eventually through hyperinflation, and I believe the Fed will do the same as the Bank of England
Mhm.
because these people they read from the same hymn sheet.
Yeah.
They meet every other week at the Bank for International Settlements, and we saw, I think, the week before this week, Lagarde said that they were postponing QT.
Mhm.
So that's kind of a pivot as well.
Yeah. Quasi pivot. Yeah. So, man, it's hard to navigate these waters, but we'll keep moving forward.
Well,
Uh,
yeah, you say that, and I just wanted to add something. Yeah, it
mhm,
is hard to navigate it. And can you imagine if the Bank of England hadn't come out on Wednesday to intervene?
mhm.
I think arguably millions of people who thought they had a final salary pension in the UK, and this is not the government pension; these are private pensions. Millions of people uh, potentially would have lost all their savings.
Right.
So that shows these people that it's more important than ever to have some kind of monetary value outside the system.
Yeah.
And we know what that is, right, Mike?
Right. Of course, it's importance of getting your weight up, man. Like taking matters
Yeah,
into your own
yeah,
hands. 'Cause
yeah. If people haven't realized that after this week, I don't know what will make it convince them.
right, I'd agree. So let me Sarah Jasara says inflation 17% in September there in the Netherlands here in the Netherlands. Damn. Okay, yeah. So that's yeah.
Well, and
That's
that's
no
the
joke.
official government number. I saw the eurozone inflation came out today at 10%. The German came out at 10%.
Yeah,
So,
so speaking of which, let me so I did notice so I do got some articles here. We got to jump into these. So Eurozone inflation at double-digit record
hmm,
piles, pressure on the ECB. So just looking at this map here, man, it's pretty severe, man. This is no
yeah,
joke. This is no joke. So that's one thing we haven't touched on the ECB and the euro situation as much because that situation is definitely worsening. So but yeah, it's just the beginning, man. All right, let's get into some headlines. So a couple articles here, and then we'll open up the phone lines, or not phone lines, but we'll get into some questions or whatnot. Just some things that caught my attention, worth bringing up. Uh, whenever you're told it's not systemic, definitely think the complete opposite. So here's just something from earlier in the week that I'm highlighted
yeah.
on earlier. But
Well, I'll talk a little bit about that. PIMCO, that stands for Pacific Investment Management Company. Uh, and the CIO is a chief investment officer. And
mhm,
PIMCO is probably the biggest bond fund in the world.
mhm,
So, of course, they want to talk
knock it
down
down.
the fact
Yeah.
that there's a systemic risk because it would, a collapse of the gilt market would end Treasury. And I, I think if the gilt market had collapsed, if
Mhm.
the Bank of England hadn't intervened, and it's not over yet, but it
Yeah.
will spill over to all the major government bond markets, and it's going to be disastrous, I think. But the flip side, if like the Bank of England has pivoted temporarily, I don't think they can do it. But when the Treasury or the Fed pivots and other central banks pivot,
Mhm.
yes, it will keep bond prices high, but the currency is going to become like toilet paper.
Yeah. It's funny how I was watching other commentators talking about like, this week could have been the UK's, Lehman type moment where,
Mhm.
if they hadn't stepped in, all hell would have broke loose and the
Yeah.
contagion, the ripple effect would have just went throughout the world. And so literally like, systemic event,
Well, yeah.
but that's even downplaying that. Like
Some
that's
people even think that this is just the beginning. Like I think the crisis, like in '08, started in like '07 with some
mhm,
small subprime lenders, and then you had Bear Stearns in March of '08. So this could be just the beginning.
yeah,
People think that with the Bank of England intervention, it's finished, but no, we could be just in the first
right.
innings of this game.
Right. So with the Bank of England pivoting, that was a true signal that fighting inflation is no longer something that they're really going to concern themselves with because ultimately it's about saving the system.
Yeah.
So in the midst of a confessed recession, like they
Yeah,
admit
and
they're in a recession.
in the midst of double-digit inflation as well, they're printing more money. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it's not going to fare well whatsoever. And on top of that, yeah, one of the biggest things, as you mentioned, is just the whole pension system. So here is just some articles here that I want to definitely highlight just to let people know what's at stake if you think that you're going to have an opportunity to receive future promises to pay. So due to the situation well before now in the UK, i.e., the cost of living movement. A lot of people were actually trying to opt out and withdraw from their pensions. So they've, over the past year, this article talks about seeing a record amount of people deciding to basically try to cash out or get as much cash as they could. And this is well before all this current fiasco is unfolding, which I would assume more people would realize what's at stake here. And this will
Yeah,
probably put more pressure on the pension
that
system.
might trigger even more people to
Right.
take, because I think here, yeah, private pensions is from the age of 55.
Mm-hmm.
You can take a quarter of it out. So I've done that before, I'm 57,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, my wife has a private pension, but she just leaves it there, and she could take it out, but you know, it doesn't look good. So it could accelerate this withdrawal from 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 the pension schemes.
Right. And now ultimately, I think it boils down to assessing the risk. Like, if you really realize what's going on, which unfortunately most people do not realize the systemic nature of what's happening here,
Yeah.
you run the risk of losing everything, or you can take the hit up front by taking that taxation penalty
Yeah.
type of thing and take matters into your own hands, which of course requires a little bit of knowledge and skill set in and of itself. But just the risk, man, their risk it's intensifying too greatly day by day to
Mm.
where, yeah. So like
Yeah.
on my side, I've had a lot of family and friends like never before. Hey, Mike, just because of the volatility in the stock market, like a lot of people saying, man, I lost this and lost that. I'm like, we really haven't seen much yet. I'm like, it's just
Yeah.
really beginning. These are just
Well,
tremors.
yeah. I think
So,
the most important thing is not, I mean, the stock market is important, but I think the bond market is even more important. And the other thing about the Bank of England intervention is not just about pensions, it's just about the mortgage market. Uh, on Tuesday this week, over 1,000 mortgage deals were withdrawn from the market.
yeah.
So the mortgage market was seizing up as well because interest rates were so volatile. So we haven't heard the last of this, not just on the pension side, but also on the housing side. And
Right.
the UK economy is heavily dependent on real estate and property.
Yeah. And speaking of which, I saw an article about several major banks, we're moving what was it, pulling offers for mortgages, like,
Oh yeah, that's what I was telling you. Yeah, yeah,
people who are pre qualified for mortgage. They literally pulled off, I think, 900 or something just within the last
yeah,
couple
yeah.
of days.
Mhm.
Where the hell I go? But no, that's very shocking.
Yeah.
Banks are literally saying, hey, we're not going to take that on. We're not taking that risk. We're going to pull these boys now.
Well, the other thing that's going on now is that there are people in their 50s and even 60s who took on these long-term deals at very low rates, and in the next few years, they're coming up for renewal, and they're going to get a shock because, and I read about this like over a month ago. The shock is going to be that interest rates are a lot higher now, and if they want to renew their mortgage at age 50 or even 60, a lot of the mortgage providers won't do it because they say you're too old, you're not really earning as much, and they might actually end up losing their homes. So that could be a next crisis.
Yeah, so here's that article. It's UK lenders pull mortgages at a record rate as market chaos worsens. So 935 mortgage products were pulled in Britain overnight, the financial services provider Moneyfax said on Wednesday.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's and I think the record prior to this was in March of 2020-ish when the lockdown happened. I think 400 or so mortgages were pulled, so double that. And this is just
The other thing I wanted to say, I didn't say this morning to my viewers in Florida. I hope everyone's okay as well. My niece lives in Florida. She's fine. She's on the East Coast. I think she had no power yesterday for the whole day, but they have generators.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I had an uncle who's in Naples, and they were without power for 3 days. He said, and it didn't hit him as much, but like Fort Myers underwater, it's bad.
Well,
Man.
Fort Myers is bad. Yeah,
it is bad. All right, let's keep it. What else we got here? A couple more topics here. Let's get on to some of the what else we want to talk about. Let's talk about
Russia and what's happening. I think that's significant. So
Yeah.
what happened today? They had these referenda in
Hmm.
these 4 regions. If you want to bring up that map,
Yep. Let me grab that map.
4 regions in eastern Ukraine, and they voted to join the Russian Federation.
Yeah.
You got to scroll up, I think.
Let me see. This is.
Yeah, scroll up, go down.
Let me go zoom out some.
It's not
Scroll
that map.
down.
Yeah, go down. It's not that map. It's this one here. Go. Yeah, zoom out.
Zoom out.
Yeah,
Oh, zoom out. Okay, let me zoom out.
no, zoom.
Ah.
Zoom. No, no. Enlarge it.
Let me enlarge.
Enlarge.
Okay. So
That
I'll leave
one
it at.
there. So you see, you've got Luhansk, Donetsk,
Yeah.
uh, Z, whatever it's difficult to say, and Kherson. So these 4 regions there, they voted to in referendums to join the Russian Federation, and they
Hmm.
were recognized today as part of Russia.
Yeah.
Of course, we in the West or our leaders are saying these are sham referendums. And I think why is this significant? Well, because now Zelensky wants to join NATO,
Mm.
the rest of the Ukraine,
Yeah.
and if he joins NATO, if Ukraine joins NATO, and Zelensky tries to attack these regions now are part of Russia.
Right.
That changes the whole ball game. And also, you sent me that article about new sanctions as well.
Mhm.
So it looks like they're building this conflict, and we're stepping up to, unfortunately, a major world conflict.
Yeah.
And we might argue whether it's planned or not, but it's keeping a lot of people in fear. And it's like you got to take a side here now. You got to back your president, or you got to back your prime minister. And this comes at a time when people are really not happy with the cost of living crisis, with what happened, with that disease
Hmm.
from 2020. So all this gives, that there's a note saying that war is the health of the state. So when the health of the state is in fragile,
Yeah.
maybe even in Russia, the health of the state there is fragile. So it suits both of these people. And we noticed that one of the people that were sanctioned was the head of the Russian central bank, which is
Yeah.
interesting.
So this is just we didn't even touch about on the whole Nord Stream sabotaging of the energy pipelines, and of course the question throughout the week was who did it, who stands to benefit the most. And of course, on the Western side, it definitely is plays. It makes us look very bad because we were talking about doing something about that pipeline well before now, and so it's like why now and for what? So more destabilization is coming, and on top of that, just to hearing the words nuclear, I've heard more articles, headlines, nuclear, nuclear, nuclear. I'm like, damn, like
Well, that's part of the scaring the public.
yeah, and it's there's no winners in that. There's no winners in a nuclear confrontation whatsoever. But then again, like this could be that great buildup that I'm talking about on my side here, where it forces the Federal Reserve to make some adjustments and use this as a primary catalyst rather than deteriorating economic conditions that
Big
we're
adjustments.
facing. So,
Yeah, they could take the balance sheet up to 20 trillion.
and it'll be, I would say it'll probably be justifiable in a sense, just because we're
Yeah.
in a worldwide war
Yeah. Oh
crisis.
yeah, we got to sacrifice, the dollar and the pound because we're fighting a war.
It's Putin's fault, what I'm saying, because he decided to whatever. They're gonna try to
Well,
sell it that way.
whatever they do and whatever you think, whether it's like a all engineered and it's like a game, you have to have gold and silver, I think, and that's why I think, yeah, we got to talk about what's happening, but you can't really worry too much because I think they're doing this by design.
Right. I would agree. All right, let's get to some questions. Oh no, we can't just yet. We got to talk about this.
Oh yeah, they've got new coins coming up. So they didn't waste time. I guess it doesn't look bad. The new coin there with his profile,
So
and
this is 50 pence.
Yeah, that's like half a dollar. We still use those.
Yeah,
I mean, what can you can't really buy that much. I mean, a can of Coke Zero, you can still get it for 65 pence.
65
So
cents.
so you
Uh,
could get two of these, you could, but I think these might be how can I say, collector's coins,
yeah,
but eventually they will come out. They will change all the circulating coins as well.
yeah. And then speaking of this, that tweet you sent me about the new £5 coin
Yeah.
is going to be worth 50 pence.
Yeah, this is a guy I follow, Adrian Pub
Uh-huh.
Landlord.
Yeah.
He owns a pub in the northeast of England,
Hmm.
and I follow him, and so he follows me as well. And I thought that was good. He said, even the mainstream media is now talking about hyperinflation, even though they didn't mention hyperinflation. They're saying that the new £5 coin, will only buy 50p's worth.
Yeah, hyperinflation. That is that's a naughty word, man. That's a naughty word. All right, let's get to some questions. Let's take some questions or whatnot. We got a couple articles we can jump on, but I'm curious to hear what everybody else is out there saying. So feel free if you guys want to join the conversation, throw out some thoughts, ideas, suggestions. There's buku topics we can touch on,
Yeah.
but definitely want to save some time for you guys.
Patrick Bateman says, "God save the king." I guess we got a monarchist in the live stream.
I'm sure he's just being funny. Let me see. It says Putin is responsible for, oh my goodness, I'm gonna leave that alone. Chris, appreciate you, man. It says if Russia can get their metals exchange up and running and the reprice silver to $50 and gold to 2,500, what effect will that have on the financial markets? Thanks. Ooh, that'd be a day of reckoning right there for the West.
Well, it would be significant because a lot of the bullion banks, which are the too big to fail,
Mhm.
they would be caught short. And
Mm.
yeah, there'd be a lot of blood on the streets, so to speak.
Yeah,
Yeah, it wouldn't be good. But who knows if they're gonna? I mean, they do want to open this Moscow bullion exchange. It's the Moscow World Standard,
yeah.
and we know other countries are like India are looking to do that. And talking about India, I just wanted to say I've seen some people talking about that the banking system in India is
Mhm.
collapsing because they're going to have loads of holidays in October, bank holidays. But uh, I here in England we have a lot of like little shops that Indian people run,
Mhm.
and I know one year here, and I spoke to the guy there, and he said, "Well, this is normal every
Mhm.
October because of Diwali, Diwali, which is like Christmas for them." Yeah, so I wouldn't read too much into that.
Yeah.
I think one guy on Twitter tried to say, "Oh, they're going to introduce cryptocurrency in India." No.
Oh man. Yeah, so of course, XRP, Ripple, there's the popularity of that project has grown far and wide just because central banks and even a lot of commercial banks throughout Europe and especially Asia have admitted that they're going to use it and yada 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 yada. So people are thinking that current project the way it is now will be the final product that they roll out at some point in the future,
Yeah.
where everybody who was early and loading up their bags is going to be a beneficiary of that adoption. I'm thinking like it's just yeah, I find it hard to
Well,
believe.
the central banks could just like buy it out at they could just like take over it, and I don't know. I'm not too. I have had X Ripple,
Mhm.
but I don't have any more. But I look at it; it's still like 50 cents.
Right.
Because I mean, I remember it being over $1. So what's all the?
Right. I think it has everything to do with the current litigation in the US
Mm,
with the SEC and stuff like that. And they're saying that's the reason why, it hasn't really gone to the moon just yet. But just be patient, load up your
but
bag.
why would you want to help finance CBDC by buying
Like you're literally a
XRP?
stakeholder. You're a direct
Yeah.
stakeholder in this
That's
global
why that's
takeover.
why I didn't get back into it because I learned, that and there was a guy who was his name was I think Paul Mellon.
Hmm.
He's from the Mellon family, Gulf Oil. I think his grandfather had been Secretary of the Treasury, banking family.
Yeah.
He died some years ago, and he had 500 million worth of Ripple,
Hmm.
but nobody in his family knew his passcode or
Get
so
access to it.
they lost all of that. So
Yeah. Here's a question from Rolf. It says, "Is Liz Truss the leader to see the British Empire through a nuclear war with Russia?" Uh, it's so. Is she? How has she been received? Her and the new financial minister, like given the fact they're new, but then again they're entering into a world of
Well,
chaos.
I try, I do follow it a little bit, but
Mhm.
even within the Conservative Party, a lot of people are not happy with them, let alone, the Labor side, the other side.
Yeah.
But his question, I don't know. I mean, a nuclear confrontation wouldn't last very long. That's
Right.
uh, so. But I mean, I remember when she was foreign secretary, which is Secretary of State, uh, before the Ukraine conflict kicked off. She was doing a press conference with Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister,
Mhm.
and she looked like an amateur next to the guy. So she's like, she's just a puppet, I think,
Yeah.
really.
I saw some little clippings. I'm not sure if they're true or not, but about her partnership and approval of the world by the World Economic Forum. When I saw that, I'm like, well, I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever. So definitely, everybody at this point is not compromised, but they've been confronted with some options. They got choices.
Well, even Putin has been there, hasn't he?
Correct. And then also Italy. We haven't touched on Italy at all with the recent situation happening there and the new leadership there. Now, I think it's too early to tell whether or not how genuine that lady is in reference to basically pulling away from the EU, but time will tell. But what are your thoughts on that? You think that she's the real deal as far as disrupting some things, or is she another probably paid for puppet that's going to talk
Yeah,
big and
I
nothing
think
hot
she's
air?
controlled opposition.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, she talks. I don't know if you saw that speech. It was on Twitter. It was a pretty
Mm-hmm.
good speech. She said all the right things about family,
Yeah, being a
uh,
mother and all that
yeah,
crap. Yeah.
and also Italy, the nation. But at the same time, she corresponded with Zelensky on Twitter and
Yeah.
said, "We're 100% behind you." So yeah, that's what I think she is, controlled opposition, which is a shame.
Yeah, because it got a lot of people excited, got a lot of people believing, and it basically it came at a great time as people were not too happy with Mario Draghi, who was a known puppet for the state. So you
Mm.
bring this person in as a savior, as a person that's going to disrupt things. It's a great way
Yeah,
to attract a lot of
yeah,
people.
they're just trying to keep people from starting a revolution, I guess.
Right.
But yeah, that's why I tell people in the end of the day, you just gotta look after yourself, get your weight up, and
Hmm.
not look for someone to come and save you.
Right.
A knight on a white horse, so to
Right.
speak, because that's what they want. Because they want to divide you as well
Right.
with the politics, because
Give
it
you
keeps them in charge,
give
just
you a
like
sense
they
of
wanted.
false hope.
Yeah.
Give you just a false hope and thinking that there's somebody within their own ranks that can,
Mm.
separate themselves from the pack and go rogue and try to save you. But here's a question here from UK Financial says, what do you both think of this? The BIS and 4 countries have just finished a CBDC pilot.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm not surprised because that's what they're gunning for,
right.
CBDC. But I think a CBDC is going to be just as bad as our fiat currency. So we might be forced to use them,
Hmm.
but at the same time, it's another reason to have stuff outside the system, i.e., get your weight up.
Right. Project Icebreaker initiative aim to improve cross-border payments by reducing costs and increasing speed and transparency. So,
The thing
yeah.
is, electronic payments now are just really efficient. This is
Hmm.
this is just a lame excuse.
Right.
When you use PayPal, it's like really quick, or even a CHAPS overseas payment. It's instantaneous. And your debit card and credit cards, everything, this is just an excuse because CBDC is going to be, I think it was Jay Powell who said recently that it's not going to be private.
Right.
They want to know there will be no anonymity. But when you use a coin, this is like a half crown actually from sterling before no one knows.
Right.
I pay you with this. It's just something that you hold.
Right.
But if they bring in CBDC, they'll know everything you do, and
Right.
they will be able to program that as well. They see that you bought too much steak one week, and they'll cut you off, and you'll only be able to buy bugs to eat.
You exceeded your carbon credit allotment for the
Yeah,
month.
yeah. Eat the bugs.
Here's another that says, Mario, if NATO disintegrates, would the UK and the US still be like in World War I and World War II, sticking together to the bitter end, or would it be?
Yeah, I think they would. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like brothers in crime, I guess.
And unfortunately, the UK still has a heavy influence on the overall world structure as far as what the crown still possesses. I saw a video and showing what the true wealth of the crown is, and it's in the trillions, because they own chunks of Canada, chunks of Australia, chunks, where they've downplayed and underestimated the actual nominal amount.
The crown itself, though, is not like the monarchy. It's different. It's not the King Charles that owns that. It's the crown. It's separate. But the other thing as well, someone told me recently, if you look at Britain, we have Gibraltar, which is right at the Straits of Gibraltar. If you control that, you control the Mediterranean.
Yeah.
We have an island in the Indian Ocean called Diego Garcia, which is shared with the U.S. Navy. So, and it's used for refueling U.S. warships. And we have the Falklands down in South America. So, yes, we are a bankrupt nation and everything. We're not an empire anymore, but we have some assets that help the Americans.
Yeah.
And the same language as well, I guess. That's the other thing. Same culture, similar culture.
Someone says, "Why is Mike promoting XRP?" I'm not promoting it. It just bothers me how a lot of people think that XRP is the answer and the solution to whatever problems. Like, it's going to really be beneficial for everybody. And
Mike is shilling XRP.
I own 0 XRP. I can be 100% transparent on that. What else we got? So throw out some questions, man. What else we got going on here? So we're literally last day of September.
October. It is the last day.
Right. It's going to be a hell of October. And so, what are you projecting? What are you predicting? What do you think lies ahead in October?
I don't know exactly, but I think it's going to get more and more crazy. We just had a taster this week with the UK, almost meltdown of the government debt market and the pensions. I think it's going to get worse, unfortunately, and also geopolitically. It's just today was really significant because basically Russia said, well, these 4 regions of Ukraine, they're not anymore. They're part of Russia now. And then you have Zelensky saying, we want to be part of NATO. And I think NATO is going to allow Ukraine to come in very quickly.
Yeah, very fast. Man. Jeez. That's unfortunate, man. That's unfortunate. All right, what else we got out here? It's never a good day in this world these days, man. So much stuff is happening. What else we got? Any other questions? See anything out there? What you got, this queen?
Why didn't she live to 200? Or I think he's talking about the queen.
That's was Billy kidnapped.
Why do you think the queen died? Well, apparently it came out yesterday. The reason for her death was, they said it was old age. She was 96. I mean, you do expect people to, most people are dead anyway, they don't reach that age.
Oh, yeah. So somebody says, Economic Ninja just released a video saying U.S. bonds, China's dumping U.S. bonds. Yeah. So is this still considered pristine collateral?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, China has been unwinding
yeah.
U.S. bonds for the last few years. I haven't seen stories about whether they're dumping them, but the thing that's worrying for China, I think, must be what's going on between Russia now and NATO and the West,
Hmm.
because I think China is more allied to Russia than to the West.
Yeah.
So, the next that Taiwan question is still out there. We haven't talked much. It's been off the radar.
Yeah, it's been off
But
the
I would
radar.
say, yeah, the other thing that all this stuff going on in Europe, Russia, it helps the US because we're not really talking much about the US
Hmm.
because it seems like an island of tranquility right now.
Right.
But yeah,
Well,
maybe that helps the dollar, I think, as well. The fact that they're pushing, Europe not to use Russian gas, if
yeah.
anything.
And so, as of right now, with all the stuff happening around the world, I've seen a couple Fed governors mention how they're going to hold course. They're not going to pivot prematurely. They're going to stay strong and stay firm. They got to really fight, inflation. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll see. But something's going to break eventually. Something is going to break eventually. But we will
I
see.
noticed though that a lot of them only think rates are going to go up to about 4.5%.
Yeah. Then
And
they're
I
going to
don't think
fall.
that's yeah, and I don't think that's enough to bring down, almost double digit inflation. And we're seeing in Europe now that CPI is still double digits, and we've had a bit of a pause in the last 6 months
Hmm.
with commodities coming down. But commodities don't cause inflation. It's money printing and easy credit, and we still have easy credit in the U.S.
Hmm.
uh, we've got the CPI probably growing more like 10, 12%.
Yeah.
And the Fed funds rate just, I think, 3.25%. So you can still borrow at 3%,
Yeah.
while the currency has been debased by at least 10%. So you're getting paid to borrow.
Yeah, and we didn't talk about the just some of the earnings that came out and how abysmal they are. And so I've seen a lot of people
Oh
sharing
yeah, I saw
different.
Nike as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, Nike's taking a hit. Was it CarMax? And so, and that's just the beginning. So once again, overall economic conditions are not great, man. So
Mm.
this consumer economy is not
Mm.
too rosy right now.
Oh, there's another question here from Rolf Steiner.
What is
Did
that?
Britain have a good relationship with China in the 19th century? No, I don't think they did. Uh, and that was when you had the Opium Wars, and then Britain took over Hong Kong. So Liz Truss accused China of being an imperial power. Well, I think that's a little bit the pot calling the kettle black.
Yeah.
I don't think China is an imperial power
Hmm.
right now. I mean, it's growing economically and it has influence in many countries economically, but I haven't seen China invade any country.
Right. They've just been utilizing their dollar reserves to fund and to build infrastructure, which is still being built. And so I
Mm.
saw that they did help ease some of the debt burdens on a lot of those African nations
Mm.
with restructuring debt and whatnot. And but then again, I'm sure it comes with some strings attached. So they're
Oh
not
yeah, but
throwing the money away.
I took a cab a few weeks ago, and the driver was a Kenyan guy. He'd been here for 20 years,
Hmm.
and he was saying that the Chinese are in Kenya, but they're different because they want to help the Kenyan people too
Hmm.
and the economy, building infrastructure.
Yeah.
When the British were there, they did that too, but he said if you were not British, you couldn't participate in it. That's the way that it came across.
Hmm.
So, and I think the Russians as well, people forget, in the 60s and 70s, they were Soviets. They helped a lot of these old colonies of Europe
Hmm.
in their fight for independence. So they remember that. So the Chinese and the Russians are well respected in Africa.
Yeah. But then once again, I've seen videos where they're there to teach, train, provide opportunities, but ultimately they will own everything. You know what I'm saying? So like they're going to make the Kenyan people as well as all the other African nations subservient to them because they're going to be the
Yeah, yeah.
primary owners of things.
Well, like here, and in the US, Chinese own a lot of stuff.
Right.
And the problem with that has been the fiat currency system, where the U.S. has been able to print and borrow from all over the world
Yeah.
to buy trinkets, and then these people have taken their dollar reserves and bought real things, and which you can blame that on the fiat currency system, because if we had a sound money system, America wouldn't have spent as much over the last 50 years. They would have been still producing,
Right.
and you wouldn't have all the Chinese money, and the same things happened here in the UK,
Yeah.
and it's been a bit longer because we lost the reserve currency status
Yeah.
probably about 100 years ago.
Here's a good question here. It says, where is the liquidity going to come from after the reset?
Well, I think they'll have to. It can only come from gold and silver,
Hmm.
because
Officially, like, officially. But then again, I think a part of the reset is that they want to be the primary source for the people, to where that's when the CBDC, like whatever might come out in the long
yeah,
run, if that succeeds,
yeah,
will be, we're going to interject directly to your wallets, and
yeah.
that's when you'll be
I
properly paid
think
officially.
what was the question again? Where is the
Where's the liquidity going?
uh,
Where's the liquidity going
well,
to
the
come from after reset?
liquidity, I think it will be liquidity will be created by tyranny. And what do I mean by
Mhm.
that? It will be forced upon you.
Yeah.
If you don't use this CBDC, you can't do anything. So people will accept it
Yeah.
and will think that it is liquidity. But
Right.
eventually, I don't think it will succeed. And that's why when the CBDC system fails,
Mhm.
they will have to, gold and silver will be the only thing left.
Yeah.
I think they'll try to stay away from gold and silver as much as possible, because it hinders their power.
Right. The West will not suggest or try to do anything utilizing gold, just like they haven't mentioned much of it as of now. It only comes from the East, and what we
Yeah.
watch them do as far as Russia and China and all those BRIC nations, and whatever their current, even whatever that BRICS currency that's going to come out, I don't think on the surface is going to be gold based. It's going to be something that will basically allow those guys to interoperability with their own currencies, but then under the surface,
Hmm.
there might be some gold backing, but I don't really think they want to make gold that much not very popular either. What else we got here? What about the fact that the globalists never ever will allow people to have their own money? This will be the very much restricted. Yeah, and that's the goal. They don't want you to have your own. They want you to be their
Yeah,
sole property.
yeah, they want you to use the debt-based currencies, and but you can still, I think, be your own central bank, and have some stuff outside the system. I don't
Yeah,
think they would ever be able to stop people from doing that.
correct.
I know it will be difficult to spend it and stuff, but it keeps you. It's something that you can use anywhere, actually, to
Right,
barter, or sometimes even exchange it for the fiat.
right. Here's another one here. It says, well, why can't they just keep gold and silver down all the time? They have been able to supposed to go up during inflation. They have when it's supposed to go up during inflation. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's because when you suppress prices, you create shortages. That's simple,
Mhm.
because you keep the commodity under its price of mining or production, and producers or miners, they won't mine because they'll lose money.
Mhm.
It's a little different with gold, because gold is all the gold that's ever been mined is out there.
Mhm.
So yeah, it takes more time, I think, to for the manipulation to end, because a lot of people don't want physical gold. They just want to trade the price.
Right. Very true. Here we have from Ger Ole, if I'm not saying that correctly. In October, Norway Central Bank will sell 4.3 billion Norwegian coronas, about $80 million a day. Say hello to even higher inflation. Wow.
Well, is that
Okay.
I guess they're doing quantitative tightening, and what
Hmm.
that will do is that will they're selling Norwegian bonds, I
Hmm.
guess, and that will make the yields go up. And yeah, and in a credit-based economy like in the West, if costs of financing goes up, you know, prices are going to go up because companies are going to say, well, we're paying $1,000 more a week, and that we're going to have to raise prices to cover that.
No. Whoo, yeah. No way out, man. That we are in the midst of the end game. What else we got? Whatever. Yeah, so no other questions. We're about 45 minutes or so. All right. Yeah, so last day of September. October is going to be more turbulent, and there will be a rocky road ashore on top of all the geopolitical things you mentioned. So anyway, let's end on a good note. Let's end on some good news, Mario. We'll put you on the spot again.
Well, good news is my birthday on Monday, and
Uh-oh.
and we're going away for a week, my wife
Yeah.
and I, on Tuesday. So that's the good note.
That's
Yeah,
good.
you need to try to keep living, not let it scare you as well.
Mm-hmm. All right, 100%, man. Well, happy early birthday, my friend. Enjoy your week coming up, and yeah, just so yeah, weather's changing here, so it's not as comfortable outside. So, gotta get involved with some other hobbies. So, my wife, or not my wife, but my brother wants to do some tennis.
And
So I'm not a real tennis player, but
indoor tennis, or
yeah, I'm gonna get out there and swing and see what happens. But anyway, but yeah, stay prayed up, man. Continue to enjoy the moment, man. Just be grateful. There's so many other blessings that we all have. Once you take account of them, you'll be amazed at how good God has been to all of us, man. But all right, people. Well, enjoy the rest of your day, the weekend, and we'll see you week after probably. But be blessed, be safe, and enjoy your weekend. Peace.
peace.